Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Build your army decks, dominate opponents in player versus player action, collect and upgrade cards to fit your strategy, improve their power and unlock unique traits. Choose from all 40k factions, take part in campaigns based on iconic 40k battles, rise to the top of the leaderboard and win glory. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, welcome to this very unique review, what could be called really a retro review. So we're going to take a look at Warhammer 40,000 First Edition, or Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader, as it was known when it first came out. 1987, the first edition of Warhammer 40,000. So it's going to be a review just like a regular review that I do, so we'll go through all of the pages here, and this is a golden opportunity as a bit of a throwback for those that were around at the time of Rogue Trader, those that have been into 40k right from the very start, a chance to see the original book. It was this piece of artwork here, this exact piece of artwork, not from Rogue Trader, it was from Warhammer 40,000 second edition, but it was that piece of artwork that you see on the front cover that got me into Warhammer 40,000 in the first place. That was the artwork that gripped me. Just loved that whole scenario there of the Crimson Fists fighting against the Orcs, and it was that got me into 40k at around the age of 14 years old. So I jumped into 40k at second edition, so I missed Rogue Trader, but it was second edition that got me this artwork, and then jumped in at second edition playing Warhammer 40,000. So it's a chance to go all the way back to the start of 40k. What we'll do is we'll go through all the pages here, so it's a chance for you to see everything inside this book. Not everyone's able to get a hold of a copy of this, so it's a chance here to see it in video format and to enjoy all of the artwork, the rules, the early concepts. There's some hidden gems in here, some of the factions that are no longer part of 40k, they're here in this book, so lots of interesting content for sure. But I'll make sure I go through. I'll zoom in at times as well. Some of the artwork's fantastic, and some of the early concepts are very good indeed. So it may well give you a bit of inspiration because there's some of the colour schemes in here are actually really good, so it might inspire you for your hobby as it is at the moment. And then I'm wondering, a question I've got as I review this, does anyone still play? Is there anyone that still plays this? So if you're watching this video and you actually play Rogue Trader, you know the rules, and actually play the game, then by all means leave it in the comment section. I'd love to hear of anyone that's actually still playing and enjoying the game. Is it a good fun game to play? I know it's very deep, it's more of a skirmish style game, it's nothing like regular 40k, with sort of larger armies, 100 models each and some tanks and so on. This is more like 20 models each, more of a skirmish type game here for Rogue Trader. Please, if you like this series, this is the beginning of a series that I may do for all of the editions of 40k, the ones that haven't been covered on the channel. So I think that'll probably be first, second, third, fourth, maybe fifth edition to be covered in review videos. Thanks to James, he's chased up these books and found them, hunted them down and purchased them, so it's part of his collection, so big thanks to him for lending me the books to review here on the channel. James has reviewed these already, so you can check them out on his channel, but if you want to see the review here, then stick around and I'll go through this book for you. You can join me on the journey that is Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader. So if you like this series, please hit the like button, it really helps out, and leave a comment of some kind, just really helps out the video and the channel. So a little bit of background information then on Rogue Trader before we get stuck in. Just a little bit, I don't want to read a load here, but just to give you a bit of a framework and a bit of a background of what's going on with this book. It's Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader, sometimes just referred to as Rogue Trader, was the first core rulebook for the Warhammer 40,000 game. The first rulebook for the 40k game, Rogue Trader, was published in 1987 and written by Rick Priestley, so you can see his name just there at the bottom of the book. And it was quite different to future versions of the game, largely a cross between role-playing games and tabletop battle games rather than out-and-out tabletop battle game. Rogue Trader contained much more background on the wider universe, races and technology found in the Warhammer 40k universe the later editions did. And for this reason, it's considered a prized collector's piece. As I said, there's some hidden gems in here, loads of fluff, loads of background story contained within first edition. The book is considered much less Imperio-centric, so less focus on the Imperium in this one than later editions, as it employed a much broader spectrum of views within the narration than was common in future versions, and proactively encouraged mixed faction forces. So it's more of a motley crew of characters from different factions being used. So it's all the early concepts here in this book. We'll crank it open here. So it came as hardback, and then I was reading. Okay, what a way to kick off though! Fantastic artwork, really good. One of the aspects they were talking about is how often this book would easily fall apart, and what some people, maybe you're watching this is what you did when you had Rogue Trader book, is they used to drill holes through the spine here and then bind it to try and keep the thing together. And it was interesting, I was reading that because this book is doing the same. It's falling apart, and that was one of the early complaints about this first edition. But we'll turn up the first, we're going to spend a little time here. This is, you can see that pretty good. I've just angled it up here with some other books just behind. But you've got Space Marines here, and they're a bit more rough and ready than the sort of the cleaner Imperial style that you see in later editions. There's actually like graffiti artwork on the armour here. Now this is either Dark Angels or Blood Angels logo, perhaps Dark Angels. But there's artwork or graffiti work on the cone of his power armour helmet here. I'll zoom in on the Marines and you can take a closer look. So just a chance to see all the detail. And I noticed this, look, tiny little bits of Mother Mercy written on his hand pistol that he's carrying. And on this shoulder pad here, die slowish. Words like kill written on this bolter here, and the bolter's being stuck straight in the mouth of this orc and blasts out the other side, and there's the blood. You could spend... Now I'm wondering here, look, there's a chainsword here going through the shoulder of an orc, and it's got the word Kenwood written on it. Now from what I was reading, you see this is a face here instead of a power armor helmet. There's another face here. What I was reading about some of the background for this is that often in the artwork members of staff and artists would be represented in the artwork, which is a common touch amongst the early 40k artwork. Feel sorry for if this is a member of staff. Feel sorry for this one. It's a decapitated head on the shoulder of the orc warrior here. Look, this orc's got a tattoo. Faith. Something. Something dying. It's got a sword for it. There's a tattoo on him. There's something else. Someone's name written across here. The details is so tiny, it's so hard to see. But there's loads of hidden stuff going on in this artwork. So I thought I'd just take a little bit of time just to give you an idea of what's going on. But it's Space Marines against Orcs. This is one of the early concepts for the Dreadnought. There's some stuff in Latin here, I think, as well. So it's not all in English. On the banners, it's all Latin by the looks of it. It's Blood Angels. It is Blood Angels because it's up here on the banner. The B and the L are missing, but it's OOD and then Angels, so it's Blood Angels. Just there. I think there's a rocket coming out of his mouth. Yeah, and I'll just move around so you can see the early concept missile launchers on here. The banner, the blood chalice with a winged and a halo on here, the word eternal. But the bare head here, it's like a mohawk haircut on him. So, as I said, this is a medic here. Yeah, it's medic. On the shoulder pad. OK written. There it is, apothecary written there as well. Just on the lower armour pad there. Smog something, Mark II. So all sorts going on in this artwork. I'll zoom back out, but it's just to give you a little idea of the highly detailed artwork even produced in the early days here. But real, it's like something you'd sit and sketch whilst you're bored at high school. Just this drawing that you pull out and just add a little bit to each time. but incredible amount of work done on this. Here, smog outlet, that's what it is. Here, it's on the shoulder pad here. Smog outlet. So tons of tiny little details going on that so easily can be overlooked, but we've taken a little bit of time just to give you an idea of what's going on. So there it is, moving on. Perhaps this inside artwork gives you a flavour of what can be expected throughout the whole book. Fascinating stuff on here. Now it's not all black and white. There is colour sections to this, which is quite impressive here for 1987. Rogue Trader. And yeah, copyright 1987 from Games Workshop. And then your introduction to 40k, which if I'm correct, I think has been continued all the way through to the current edition, I believe. I'll read this to you. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods and master of a million worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, to whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day, and for whom blood is drunk and flesh eaten. Human blood and human flesh, the stuff of which the Imperium is made. I think they carry this on, I'm not sure if it's in current editions. To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. This is the tale of these times. It is a universe you can live today if you dare, for this is a dark and terrible era where you will find little comfort or hope. If you want to take part in the adventure, then prepare yourself now. Forget the power of technology, science and common humanity. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for there is no peace amongst the stars. Only an eternity of carnage and slaughter and the laughter of thirsting gods. But the universe is a big place, and whatever happens, you will not be missed. Then across here, some of the early symbols. Ultramarines. I think that's White Scars. Space Wolves. Not sure on that one or that one. Eldar maybe. Flesh Tearers, possibly. Orcs. Dark Angels. Imperial Fists or Crimson Fists. Not sure on that one. And then Blood Angels here as well. So right from the very, very start, there are concepts that have run throughout all the editions, all the way up to today. So this is your structure now, your contents of what to expect. It's giving you all of the credits for who was involved. It wasn't just Rick Priestley, there's a whole load of people here. There's additional material. Brian Ensel, that's one of the names I recognise. John Blanche, Jess Goodwin. I think he sculpted a lot of the Eldars, the early Eldar stuff. I'm just looking through some of the ones that I know, or have heard of at least. Dave Andrews, I think I've heard that name before. John Blanche again. And then if I go down to Rick Priestley, involved in the photography as well. Yeah, miniatures designed by Kevin Adams, Nick Bibby, Mark Copplestone, Jess Goodwin, Ali Morrison, Trish Morrison, Bob Naismith, Bob Ollie, and then Mike and Alan Perry, the Perry twins, which they're still sculpting miniatures. I think they did the Lord of the Rings, a lot of the Lord of the Rings stuff for Games Workshop, and then now they sculpt a lot of historical sort of American Civil War, Napoleonic plastic miniatures. Perry miniatures they're called. I get their email newsletter from them, so they're still sculpting away. And then something else that I found interesting, tabletop training from the collection of the author. So Rick Priestley's terrain is featured in this book, and he also says battle boards courtesy of TSS Terrain. Now I think that's the same people. TSS stands for Total Systems Scenic, and they're still operating, producing sort of polystyrene flock coated terrain, so it's battle boards, hills and so on, and they're the ones that I get my green flock for my basing from. Total Systems Scenic, based in the UK, and that's a lot of people ask, where do you get the green flock for your basing? That's from them, and they're here right in the very early days of 40k. So you've got 5 sections here. It talks about combat, the battle at the farms, that's a little run through of a game, equipment covered here, or like a codex of war gear, and then the age of the Imperium, so I think that's your background information, which is all the way down here. That runs from page 135 to 219, and then the advanced gamer, and then a summary at the end as well. So similar to other 40k rulebooks, you've got a summary at the back of the book. Just talking about dice and so on, what to use. I can see more than a D6 here. D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, D20 is all being used here. Games, dice that we would still use when I play historical battles, but 40k now, it's down to a D6. Then you do have a game master, so you'd have 1 player, 2 players or more, and then you'd have like an umpire, a games master, similar to Dungeons and Dragons, that would help run the game as well. So it's interesting how that's no longer part of 40k, but in the early days it was that mixture, as we said earlier on in the introduction, as a mixture of a tabletop battle and then a role-playing type game at the same time. So it's like a highly immersive skirmish type game here at the very start of 40k. And for those that are asking which came first, Warhammer or 40k, this was taken. This concept was taken from and adapted from Warhammer Fantasy Battles, so that came first, and this came afterwards, borrowing and taking concepts over and shifting it to the 40k universe. So combat here, the actual rules of the game, I believe, being covered, and really good piece of artwork here. Another sketch drawing, again fighting against the Orcs by the looks of it. Here the Marines fighting away, again highly detailed. One of the things I'd love to see would be these the early power armour, you know, with the studded shoulder pads and the cone nose. I'd love to see those as a full kit, and you'd be able to, I think Games Workshop will do it one day. Rogue Traders, Space Marines, I reckon they will. They did a commemorative model, they made one, but I wish they'd do a full squad and bring back some of the older vehicles. Would be a good job. In the field of battle, talk about the terrains. This is Rick Priestley's own terrain being used here. Very sort of primitive terrain here at this early stage. My, how it's come along. Chapter of the Dark Brotherhood. Piece of artwork here. It's like a Space Marine, but he's carrying, I don't know what kind of weapon that is. Troop characteristics. Yes, we'll zoom in at this bit here. So see what you recognise, and again, just showing you how it's from the very start. A lot of things are quite familiar. M for movement, it's the same. Weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, wounds, initiative, which was done away with 8th edition, so it was there in 7th. That used to determine who fights first. So those were the highest initiative, like Eldar, for example, fight before Imperial Guard. Eldar would have maybe initiative 5. Guardsmen have initiative 3, Space Marines initiative 4, so that determined who went first in close combat. But now it's, you know, Charger fights first and so on. A for attacks, that's the same. LD, that's leadership. And then these ones, I'm going to have to guess here. I reckon, oh, here we go. So we've got intelligence, INT. So intelligence shows the character's ability to think and use technical equipment. The lowest intelligence is 1, the highest is 10. Creatures with a really low intelligence are unable to use certain pieces of equipment. Right, okay, so clever enough. Good idea. And then CL, which is cool. This characteristic reflects a creature's temperament and its ability to stay calm under control. Values go from 1 to 10. Creatures with very low CL may lose control of their actions and do unpredictable and hysterical things. Creatures with a higher CL are just the opposite. They can be unaffected by sights and experiences that reduce frail characters to jelly. And then WP, which is willpower. This is a measure of mental resistance. A creature with a high willpower can avoid or escape the effects of psychic attack. Values go from 1 to 10. So, fair enough. Just some more detail there for more of an immersive game. Now, look at these Space Marines here. A bit more rough and ready. There's all sorts going on here with these sculpts. We'll turn over. We'll stay zoomed in. There's some colour pages here. and a chance to see some of the early models. Now, these aren't meant to exist, are they? These are squats. Brilliant. Here in first edition, and they look fantastic. Games Workshop should bring them back. Eldar Warriors. I hope they will. There's Eldar Warriors here. Love this snake style pattern on the yellow helmets. Just giving you some inspiration for some colour schemes. There is, if it's in, as we come across it, I'm sure it's in, I hope it's in here, there's an Imperial Guard colour scheme for Ashton of Time I'd love to actually do, replicate from the early 40k editions and actually paint an Imperial Guard regiment. But if I find it in the book, I'll show it to you. An Inquisitor in power armour, Silver Skull chapter, an Orc, familiar looking, Dark Angels. So Dark Angels in black, not dark green originally. It's Eldar again, squats, a Slan warbands, a bit like your Lizardmen, but they're in 40k, not around anymore, but there they are. Slan again, almost not quite Lizardmen, like frog-like almost. Marine from the Dark Angels chapter. There's one with a missile launcher, and the black armour almost looks glossy. Then Blood Angels in their familiar colour scheme. An Imperial Battle Droid. And moving along, there's a Marine Medic. Dreadnought from the Blood Angels chapter. It's the early concept Dreadnought, almost like two bolters in each fist. And again, there's that same font style die as we saw on that shoulder pad earlier on. Belim something written on the side. Kill, 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 again written on the side of his arm there. More Orcs, Eldar, an assortment of power armoured troops. So you see the variety in the power armour here. The strange helmet concept and the grey armour, and this one here with the chainsaw, double-handed chainsaw, and the green armour. And then one of the other factions here, the Zotes, discontinued. So there you go. We'll zoom back out here. So I hope you can draw some inspiration from this, just a chance to immerse yourself in the early days of 40k. So you've got the turn sequence then. So it was movement first, then shooting, then hand-to-hand combat, then reserves, interesting, came in at fourth here, and then psionics. If it is your turn, you may use any psionic powers as appropriate, psychic phase I guess, and then rallying, so a chance to stop routing troops, and so on. Different types of terrain being covered. You've seen this piece of artwork already. An early quote here, Catechism of Worship. Look to your battle gear and it will protect you. We guard it with our lives as the reply. Your armour is your soul and your soul's dedication its armour. So, similar quotes to what we hear, and then moving along here. Different categories and different situations where you can and can't shoot. And for what I was reading about the early rogue trader, the rules are deep enough, but there's lots of rules, or lots of detail, and so it did keep the game smaller because there's so much to remember for each of the characters involved. Direction of facing for individual models, turning at different degrees, and then you deduct the penalty off your movement for turning. Fire arcs. Got your 2-inch coherency though for your units. Yeah, that's your fire arcs there, so that's the direction the model's facing, and the different base types. Right, so what we've got here is you can have models of different bases: square bases, round bases, hexagonal bases, and the actual direction the model's facing on that base as well. It's pretty complicated. Adds more clarification here of who can and can't see and can't shoot. Discovering hidden troops, shooting from in woods. We'll keep it rolling. Modifiers. So your ballistic skill chart. Ballistic skill of 3 is a 4 to hit, so we know that one. We've got just little quirky bits here. Plasma pistol. Range 18 at maximum range. So you'd have short, long and maximum range. A las gun, range 24. Bolt pistol up to range 16. I think it was, yeah, weapon modifiers. You're firing at short range, +2 to hit roll and so on. There's your save and throws. There's the old chart that used to be present in most editions of 40k. So you take the weapon strength, compare it to the toughness, and that'll give you the score that you needed. Save modifiers, a bolt gun, maybe modifier of -1. Basic save of mesh armor 5. Modified save then becomes a 6. Las cannon, modifier -6. Area effect. Hand-to-hand combat. Slow weapons. Firing into close combat, so you could do that. Firing from hand-to-hand combat. Firing from a moving platform. Again, covering different types of bases for your attack arcs. Giving you an example here of Zote attacking. What on earth is that? The Katachan Devil. There it is, if you've never seen one. So a good example of a creature with different attacks is the Katachan Devil. These ferocious animals are large territorial carnivores. They originate in the Katachan system. They've been mysteriously introduced into several worlds. Katachan Devils are superbly adapted for life amongst the hot, damp jungles of their home planet. Their bodies are segmented, the midsections each having a pair of legs. According to the age of the creature, the number of sections, legs, and the creature's overall size vary. Large individuals can have 20 sections, a dozen pair of legs, and reach over 30 metres long. Depending on the size of the creature, the legs confer a number of basic stomp attacks. The rear section is modified into a long tail with curves, which curves over the creature's back in the manner of a scorpion, as seen in the picture. Also, like a scorpion, the tail has a poisoned barb. Successful hits cause D6 points of damage against living targets, 1 point otherwise. And older male Katachan Devils, the front pair of legs become grossly enlarged, taking on the appearance of crab claws. Often one claw will be much larger than the other, and the locals refer to these creatures as fiddlers. Each claw gives 1 attack causing D4 points of damage. Fiddlers cause D6 points of damage with their large claw. Katachan Devil's head is small and pointed with luminous green eyes. In front of the eyes and surrounding the creature's mouth are the rings of short tentacles. So you see how the fluff and the rules are as one here. They're merged together. So you're reading the background story and then getting your information as well. The two go hand in hand. In front of the eyes and surrounding the creature's mouth are rings of short tentacles which are used to grab the devil's prey and draw it towards the mouth. Tentacles are stinging cells that subdue the victim. Because of their small size, the tentacle mass has only 1 attack, but causes D4 damage on successful hits. The mouth itself is extendable, comprising 2 rasping lateral mandibles, where the creature has no teeth as such. Bony hooks lining the mouth serve the same purpose and can leave an extremely ugly wound. So there it is. There's a 50% chance of a large devil being an adult male with 2 additional claw attacks. There's a 10% chance of a male being a fiddler with a more powerful claw. The Katachan Devil is a relatively complicated creature. It has several attack types and does variable damage with each type. Most creatures are far simpler with only 1 or 2 attack types. The background section gives details for more creatures, and of course you're free to invent your own. Well, multi-weapons, arc attacks. You're rolling off here your weapon skill of the attacker and defender. You've got hit roll modifiers. So you got rolls of frenzied, +2, charging +1, fighting uphill +1, following up +1, crossing a defended obstacle -1, using more than 1 weapon at once -1, using weapon wrong-handed -1, improvised weapons -2. Such as a claw or a bite. There's a Space Marine Commander. Piece of artwork. What is that? When I was looking through this earlier, it's like an early land speeder here, a big blade at the front. Well, just zoom in so you can see it. Strange thing, there it is. And there's a similar blade on the end of this gun, a big blade sticking out, hunting down what looks like just a regular guardsman. but we'll zoom out again. Marines shooting this one here, whatever it is. Marines shooting another marine type model. Yeah, I was looking at this the other day, pushbacks. So if a unit loses a round of close combat, models still in contact with their enemies are forced to retreat. So you win a combat, you force the enemy to fall back, which is, I think it's a pretty good concept. You can drive someone off of an objective, for example. Losing models must retreat 2 inches, moving away from their opponents. This simulates a gradual retreat made during the fight, and it is assumed models remain facing the same direction. No deduction is made for this 2-inch move. It's an additional or normal. It is additional to normal movement. Modified for terrain is appropriate. So there you go. Piece of artwork here. It's a good chance to see the Eldar. And again, that Eldar aspect armor, or Eldar Guardian armor, pretty much in the shape of the helmet. You can see it starting out even at the very early stages here, breaking off from close combat. It's like fighting on an Amazonian world here. So this is your morale, so it's working through the rules here, route and pursuit. Routers leaving the table. Moving for another unit. Not wishing to pursue. Stopping a pursuit, leaving the table. Yeah, I think this, I remember this from some of the early editions of Warhammer, where if you routed an enemy unit, you had to test to not pursue. So you ended up out of control and chasing them off the board, and different units are better at holding off than others. Some just, once they were chasing an enemy, they couldn't stop and they would follow them off the table, see them to the edge of the board. Others that had more restraint, you could stop them from chasing a routed enemy and try and rally them and then get them fighting again. But it's a similar kind of stuff going on here. Again, more examples. Look at the depth of this though. You're working your way through this. It'll take you out. You know, some people say that 9th edition is very complicated, but this is in-depth stuff here. Uncommitted troops, reserve move psychology, routing troops, psychology here. Sometimes several of the psychological rules might potentially apply at once. In this case, apply the following sequence. You've got confusion, frenzy, fear and hatred. Talking about test on cool. Here, the CL value. Buildings, so your rules covered here, save and throws and so on, damage on buildings. Vehicles now. So I remember this is carried through to some of the other editions, I believe. Pivoting your vehicles, you couldn't just turn them on the spot. I think you had to pivot around and follow that arc as it's showing you how to do it there. So you've got land max speed, land acceleration, and this indicates deceleration, air max speed, air minimum speed, turn radius ratio TRR, capacity, that's the number of models you can get inside, the toughness, the damage, save, equipment, weapons. Damage effects. Have a little look at this. Talk about let's see. Look at the complexity of this. So the number of models. This is boarding and leaving vehicles. The number of models that can leave and enter a vehicle during the turn depends on the doors and hatches, which are treated in the same way as doors on buildings. So the movement of troops 3.5 inches or more. The number that can leave or exit the vehicle is 4 models. So you're counting up the number of doors to try and leave a vehicle. So this is your dice roll on a D12, I believe. Value up to 12, and it can go beyond that. It says modifiers that can change that. So on a 1 or a 2, auxiliary power. If the vehicle has turrets of any kind, 1 is jammed and solid and cannot be used. If the vehicle has no turrets, see 3 to 4 below. Temporary loss of control. The vehicle goes out of control for the next turn only. 5 to 6, power loss, half the movement allowance. This can have cumulative effects. Number 7, mechanical jam. Whatever action was made last turn, moving, firing, whatever, it will keep on happening from now on. Weapons firing automatic continue to fire in the same direction. If the vehicle is moving, it continues in the same direction at the same speed. Number 8, weapons lost. 1 built-in system is destroyed, roll randomly. 9, systems failure. Everything stops, automatic systems lock. The vehicle moves D6 directly forward and grinds to a halt. 10. Control loss, the vehicle goes out of control from next turn onwards. Smell of burning, number 11. The vehicle experiences a systems failure. See result 9. The player rolls a d6 at the beginning of his subsequent turns. If a 6 is scored, the vehicle will explode. And that's here, bang, 12 plus. Vehicle explodes, slaying all crew members who failed to make their basic saving throw or eject. Save models may be placed anywhere next to the vehicle and may move on the next turn. Similar stuff here with Dreadnoughts. These all look similar. Just you've got left or right arm damage on one or two, but the rest looks the same. So talking about Dreadnoughts, collisions. A battle droid, by the looks of it here, with a ball and chain. Robots, right, okay, robots. I could maybe do a video on the rules, it'd be 50 hours long. We'll keep rolling through here. Just give you an idea of the way the rules work. There's pivoting here for flyers as well. Bit of artwork. Crazy stuff, psychic powers, variable heroes, standard personalities, champion, minor heroes, major heroes, random heroes. Psionics, this is your psychic phase going on here. Random ability charts. So you're on a D10. So if you're a level 1 psyker, aura of resistance, cure injury, hammer hand. And recognises some of these: immunity from poison, mental blow, steel mind, telekinesis 1, telepathy 1, teleport 1, wind blast. Level 2, aura of protection, ectoplasmic mist, jinx, mental bolt, rally, sense, present, smash, telekinesis 2, telepathy 2, teleport 2. Level 3, aura of recall, Citrance, animate weapon, cause confusion, cause fear, destroy aura, mental blitz, route, telekinesis 3, telepathy 3, transfer aura. And number 4, aura of invulnerability, change allegiance, cure wounds, limbo, mental blast, stasis, strength of mind, telekinesis 4, telepathy 4, temporal distort. That's your mastery levels 1, 2, 3 and 4. Look at this. This is all your psychic powers, each with its own little illustration. I'll go super random on some of these. And telekinesis 1. It's the power to move objects by pure will. A psyker with this ability may move any one unsecured object within 12 inches, weighing a kilo or less. The detail of this. Up to a distance of 6 inches. Alternatively, the object may be made to hover or suspend itself in mid-air. Most handheld equipment, including grenades, weigh less than a kilo, and lever pulling and button pressing can be achieved by means of this ability. You've got, if you were to play this game, you'd have to be, forget tournaments, I think. I highly doubt there was tournaments for this, but you've got to be playing amongst friends. You've got to be pretty forgiving with each other, because it's very, very heavy on role play here. You're both sort of trying to, both teams are trying to work their way through the rules to make sure it's an enjoyable game for everyone. It's not worth breaking out in arguments. It's a team effort to make it an enjoyable and immersive skirmish game. Strength of mind. This ability channels psychic energy into the mind of the psyker, allowing him to increase one of his personal characteristics, leadership, intelligence, and so on, by 1. This can take levels to above the theoretical maximum of 10. The effect lasts the rest of the day and have worn off by the next morning. This ability cannot be used repeatedly. So long as one characteristic remains enhanced, the ability will not work again. You can create mutants with a silly walk or a silly voice. Unbelievable. With 3 eyes or tentacles or suckers. Hypnotic gaze, a hunchback, a huge head, a cloud of flies. And it's got all the details here. Big ears. Got to read this. This mutation affects the tissue of the ears, which becomes so swollen and prominent as to resemble those of an elephant. This is rather inconvenient, to put it mildly, making it almost impossible to wear a helmet, for instance. However, the creature's hearing becomes quite acute, so that the slightest sound can be detected easily. This allows the creature to function as if equipped with a bioscanner, sensitive to any animal source. Would you believe it? I mean, and this is written by Rick Priestley. The effort, the detail on this is... You know, we get a new edition of 40K, it's written by a team. This is almost a one-man's effort here. Arms that elongate at will. Acid excretion. Look at this, pages of stuff. Long legs, able to walk across terrain. A long neck, the creature has a long giraffe-like neck. No extra rules for it though. A mace tail. Hideous appearance. Causes fear in intelligent creatures of intelligence of 5 or more. So your intelligence, higher intelligence, actually works against you. The dumber creatures don't pick up on the fear, I think. Irrational hatred. Fury. No, furry. The creature's body is covered in long, dense fur. Helps you in terrain. Ha! And I think this is your members of staff here. Without doubt. We'll zoom in so you can take a look. This is... Danger Mutants. And here they are. Some unrecognisable, others part of the team here. Incredible stuff. There they are. Moving on, look, Psycho written on top of his helmet. So you got weapons here. This is all part of the background here. Auto guns, bolt guns, bows, crossbows, flamers, gravitation guns, grav guns, hand bow, las gun, melter gun, musket. So you see a lot of the familiar terms. I found it fascinating how they're right at the very start of 40k. Needle gun, plasma gun, shotgun, shuriken catapults, a sling, an antique pistol, auto pistol, bolt pistol, chainsaw, combat accessory, force rod, force sword, a hafted weapon, hand flamer, hand weapon, Jakiro digital, las pistol, needle pistol, neuro disruptor. Recognise all these: plasma pistol, power axe, power glove, power sword, sawn off shotgun, stub gun, sword, web gun. Then heavy weapons, auto gun, conversion beamer. That's Adeptus Mechanicus stuff, I think. Distortion cannon, again. Admech, grenade launcher, heavy bolter, heavy plasma gun, heavy stub, heavy webber, las cannon, missile launcher, multi-laser, multi-melter. Gives you their points values as well. A defense laser, it's 250 points compared to an autocannon at 35. Macro cannon, plasma cannon. And then you've got grenades. An anti-plant grenade, a blind grenade, choke grenade, crack, normal, crack, powerful, spelt with a C, not a K. Frag, hallucinogen, haywire, knockout, melter bomb, photon. Photon grenades for the tower, plasma, not the tower in here, but there's photon grenades. Psych out grenades, that's your Grey Knights. Rad grenades, scare gas, smoke, stasis grenade, stun grenade, tanglefoot grenade, that's your Adeptus Custodes. Toxin gas, virus, vortex, that could be like your assassins. So yeah, it's all in here. Barrage, support mines, just mines in generic, and then support barrage bomb, biowire bomb, disruptor beacon, holographs, homing beacon, mine missile, nightlight plasma bomb, scatter missile. You got your equipment. Won't go for all of these. There's a jump pack, las cutter, medipack, needler chemical, flight pack, power field generator. You've got your armour here. Now this is interesting. Carapace armour, conversion field, chainmail. Conversion field, isn't that carried by Yarrick? Commissar Yarrick, I think, carries one of those. Chainmail, displacer field, flak armour, mesh armour, that's Eldar I believe, plate armour, power armour, refractor field, I think that's what Yarrick has, a shield, and then a stasis field. Then bionics, bioscanner, energy scanner, legs, lungs, eyes. And there it is. And then there's more stuff going on. Creatures. yeah, for those that are interested, I'll call these out here. An Astral Hound, an Enslaver, a Psychean, adult or a grub, Vampires, Ambles, Bouncers, Carnivorous Sand Clam, Katachan Devil, small, medium and large, Katachan Face Eater, a Crawler, a Crotolid, a Catelhian Cudbear, a Gene Stealer, I don't know that one, Grox, Grinks, Horses, Riding, or Draught, Lashworm, Dinosaurs, Dinosaurs, small, medium and large, a Pharaoh Beast, a Giant Insectoid, small, medium and large, a Giant Spider, small, medium and large, a Mimic, a Patera Squirrel, Squirrels, Razorwing, a Rippy Fish, a Sunworm, and a swarm of 10 models. Getting really immersed here. So that comes to the end of that section. That's your rules. We sort of flicked through, obviously couldn't go through all the rules, just picked out some of the interesting bits here. What's this? Hang on a second. Creatures, humans, human marine, a beast man, a halfling, an ogrin, a squat. So halflings and squats different here. Eldar Orcs, Gretchen, Slan, Jakero, Tyranid and Zotes. And that's your basic cost for the model. Then you're paying points for champions, minor heroes and major heroes. Wow. Right, then we've got the battle at the farms. It's giving you a scenario that's taken place here. There's the map drawn out. There's the actual terrain. Just look at the chapter brief. Requested by P. Cantor. Ha! Pedro Cantor. His numbers, a signature. Today's fought, purge those who are unclean. The detail is incredible. What the game master must do, given the outline of the umpire type. So, beginning the game, ending the game. There's your tape measure and dice. Artwork here, an orc firing point blank into the chest of a marine. Nice. There it is, and then moving on to it's an example of a scenario. That's the early days of your missions. There, just one example though. I guess you had to just make up your own. It's giving you an idea of how you could do one, and then you could do take inspiration from that and create your own. So on book 2 here, so this is equipment now, war gear that can be used. This is the Astra Militarum, I think, obviously fighting away. And a strange vehicle design in the background. So you've got weapon profiles, getting an idea of what they look like. Basic weapons, we've called these out already. Some of the artwork. So you've got your 40k bow here. There's your bolter, very familiar looking. Flamer, not much change to that. There's the auto guns. There's the graviton gun. Crossbow. We've called out the names of the guns, so we'll just keep rolling on here. There's the melter gun with that classic spacing here on the end part of the weapon. That's not changed. There's your musket, looking very similar to the weapons that the Rangers carry. Galvanic rifles. There's the needle gun. Hand bows. Orcs grabbing hold of and fighting away against a marine here. Cutting into his leg. Sneaky orcs or Gretchen. Moving on. Weapons for the Eldar. An antique pistol, sling, auto pistol. There's the plasma gun. Again, look at the early concept. Replicated all the way through to the modern editions. There's a shotgun. Very modern, futuristic looking. KOYO combat accessory. A force rod. Force sword. A hafted weapon. Similar to the weapons that the custodians carry. Looks like a team working together of humans, rogue humans and orcs. And that artwork, hand weapon, hand flamer, improvised weapons, bottles, bludgeons and fists. Neuro Disruptor, and you know what, that concept still remained the same, being used by the Harlequins, but that crystal style with the weapon, that's continued on even up to today. There's a las pistol, needle pistol, the power axe, it's more of a like a double-handed thing here, but there's the power sword, plasma pistol, there's a rogue trader in command of his ship, sawn-off shotgun, looks very futuristic. There's the power glove, or what we would call the power fist by the looks of it. There's the stub gun, which looks very much like a modern day pistol. There's the web gun, just a sword, which looks like a power sword. That's the effects of the web gun by the looks of it. Just the character there covered in a web, giving the peace symbol with his hand, I think, by the looks of it. There's the distortion cannon. This is your heavier weapons. There's the rocket launcher. Heavy webber. Heavy stubber, which looks very much, I have to say, like an MG42 from World War II. Grenade launcher, heavy plasma gun, heavy bolter, similar-ish to today's design. It looks like an orc. Yeah, what I was saying is, when I was reading the background about this, a lot of the time you'd have a standard weapon and they wouldn't change the name of it for the different factions. So an orc would carry a plasma gun, so would a human, so would a space marine. They wouldn't change the name of it around or alter it very much. They're all, these rogue traders have got access, you know, they're looting and pillaging and buying in and exchanging and trading on weapons. So the same weapon would be shared amongst different characters and so on. So you'd see that crossover a lot more. Instead of each faction having its own unique weaponry. Heavy weapons, very, very heavy weapons. Plasma cannon, macro cannon, las cannon, multi-melter, carried on a tripod here, multi-laser. So Eldar with little wings coming in here. It's like your early day swooping orcs. Eldar ship in outer space. Choke gas, and there's an illustration of it. The depth of this. Knockout gas. Haywire. It's anti-vehicle, so there's that concept there right at the start. Scare gas, the psychological stuff. Rad, dangerous levels of radioactivity. So you can see how different elements contained in Rogue Trader, and that could be used by all the factions perhaps, has over the years been spread out and placed amongst particular factions now. So your rad technology, for example, found amongst Adeptus Mechanicus, just giving you an idea. Games Workshop have taken that concept, but they've siphoned it off to different factions. The Haywire, for example, more of a Eldar, Dark Eldar concept now, but was available to everybody in the Rogue Trader days. I think that's the impression I'm getting here. It's probably a member of staff. A bit of a joke going on. Been decapitated here by perhaps a female Rogue Trader. Smoke grenades. The orcs slitting the throat of somebody here. So you've got mines being used. Support weapons. There's your weapons summary. Sure you get an idea of the depth of this. So if you're thinking of, after watching this video, I'll maybe get a copy of this, I'd like to have a go at the game. you need to be pretty committed, because there is a lot of stuff. And it's games like this, I found, when I used to go to War Games Club, it was so handy starting a game, being introduced to it by someone who already knew the rules, who'd probably already been taught by someone else. It's that way you pass on your teaching to those below you and those around you that are interested. It's so much easier, so much more enjoyable than just buying the book and trying to figure out the rules on your own. Especially with this, you really need help. And it's a lesson for those of you that want to get into Warhammer 40,000. Try and find someone who already knows the rules to help you out, and join in a game, watch a game. It's so much better than trying to pick up a rule book just as it is and try and learn. It's very, very difficult, very discouraging, just lowers your motivation. But if you can get in with someone that knows the rules, then that's a great tip for getting into the hobby. and even more demoralising, trying to learn the rules on your own. At least if you've got no one around you that knows 40k, try and find someone that also wants to get into it and try and work on the rules together, and you just correct each other's mistakes and learn together is a great way to do it. I think that's how I got into 40k. Partially was by James and myself just learning the rules together. Really helped out. There's some more colour scheme stuff going on here. Looks like a Tyranid in amongst the terrain here. I'll zoom in, don't want you to miss this. We'll zoom into the pictures. So, perhaps a dinosaur, I don't know, but it's carrying a gun. So that's your early Hormigaunt here, I think, really. Fighting against the Crimson Fists over this command bunker. Pretty well modelled here. And it's Orcs. That's the scale of the game you can expect. So battle for a geostation. Orcs battle against Marines. Orcs and Marines, not Space Marines, just Orcs and Marines. This we're just up here. Orcs and Marines engaged in deadly battle again. Making use of bark here for the terrain. Walls provide vital cover in this skirmish. And then down here, Orcs and Marines clash over a remote outpost. There's a dead model. I'd love to do that one day for an army. Collect a whole army, maybe of Space Marines, and then for every model and every vehicle, create a dead version of it. So actually during the game you can put the models on the board. I'd love to do that. So there's the loose pages here. Now look at this. Looking a little bit like the Plasma Inceptors with the two weapons going on there. There's one just behind there as well. No description for that one, but it's just a Marine, no doubt, with a jump pack and then two plasma weapons, I believe, but there's an early concept there for your Plasma Inceptors. What is that? That's a space, it is a Space Marine inside there. So it's, I think it's this one. So it's an August flyer. Great looking concept. She says this model is a conversion from plastic spares. The flyer is a light strike vehicle, typical of the sort of thing that might be used to scout ahead of an advancing force or to offer support to troops on the ground. Some of the early artwork and cover, and then one of the early dioramas. I think there's a better version of that later on, so we'll come to that later. This is your types of vehicles. It's like a sports car, a random road wheeler, a land and city car, crazy stuff, tracked vehicles, random tracks. And there she is, the Land Raider, and that is the original name for it. It's large enough to accommodate 10 troops and their equipment. But there it is. Now, was that a plastic kit? In those early days, multiple angles of it. It's obviously a flagship vehicle for Games Workshop in the early days. The Land Raider is a multi-role combat vehicle designed to cope with most situations that the galaxy can throw at it. Its wide tracks can move easily over loose or dangerous ground. Whilst its plastine encased body can hold up to 10 crew in relative comfort. It's equipped with las cannons. The picture of this Land Raider belongs to the Crimson Fist chapter of the Space Marines. The position of the battle flag indicates that this is a command vehicle. There it is. That's your early land speeder concept. Underslung weapon, weapon on top, 2 crew. There's your walkers. Early concepts of them. The Stegat Ank, a multi-limbed plastic model kit. This can be based on any multi-limbed plastic kit. If you're an accomplished modeller, you can even build your own. It's a license to create your own stuff. Tactical walkers. Doesn't say if this is a land speeder. Bit of artwork here. Do not waste your tears. I was not born to watch the world grow dim. Life is not measured in years, but by the deeds of men. Armour profiles. That's giving you a breakdown of the Space Marine armour. That's a very up-to-date It's Imperial Fist, Power Fist here. Pretty much how it is today. I'm just giving you the full breakdown of what's inside. Even your headpiece, that microphone. Food and drug injector. Stabilizing jets. Why would you need stabilizing jets on those? Blood oxygen chamber. Blood pumped through the heart. There's this thing over here. Defile not his presence. It's just a little quote down here. Approved by all chapters. Mesh. Mesh armour is made from the same plastic material used in the lining of flak armour. Key robot profiles. Lots of robots here, like something out of Star Wars. Loads of different types. And you're free to build your own. I can imagine there's fun times, people making their own stuff. You bring a new model that you've constructed out of spare bits to a game. It's giving you all the details. Random wheeled robot, typical wheeled robot. Typically you could choose which one you wanted to build. Hover robots, tracked robots. Equipment, bioscanners, jump packs, flight packs. Mechanicus is talking about here. It's another robot. More robots, random walker robot, typical robots, typical walkers, typical dreadnought suit. Look at these things. You can see the early how this was AdMech, destroyers and breaches and so on being used. Miscellaneous equipment, energy scanners, eye protectors, auto systems, bioscanners. There's a squat. What's he carrying? Like a skateboard? Slam sector. Gimme danger. He's got written on his shoulder pad. Artwork, same artwork repeats it down here. So much information. Advancing Space Marines. Rad suit. Sealed suit. Stimulant. Stum. Antidote. Sin skin. Targeters. Suspensors. Suspensors. Hold up your trousers. Rad counter. Teleporters. More artwork here. I don't know what is going on. If you have any idea what that is, then by all means leave it in the comment section where this big alien thing is. Something been discovered by a rogue trader here. Strange stuff. Your imagination, I'm sure, could run right. So finishing up here, so on book 3 next, The Age of the Imperium. So this is your background information. All your Marines lined up on parade. Fascinating. So we'll move on to this next. So we're away from rules now. That's a good half of the book. So this is your background fluff now. So all your background information, talking about the galaxy, warp space, warp drives, warp gates, warp portals, warp creatures. Warp storms, the human navigator, the astronomicon, then humanity and the Imperium. So all going about the Imperium here. Over 10,000 years ago, the great Emperor of mankind ascended to the golden throne of Earth. Of the wars he waged to get there, of the countless agonies of battling worlds, there is no record. Only the Emperor remembers, if indeed even that strange and ancient creature can recall those distant times. The ascent of the Emperor marked the end of a long era of human history, an age typified by interhuman warfare and a gradual decline of the accumulated knowledge of millennia. This was the age of strife. The high point of scientific achievement had occurred thousands of years before in the yet older age known as the Dark Age of Technology. Through the Dark Age of Technology and the Age of Strife, mankind has come to the present age, that of the Imperium. So, even and on and on. I mean, even to get a hold of this book for the lore and the fluff, to read about the background story and how interesting it's changed over time as well, down through the different editions. There's your Adeptus Custodes. They are talked about right from the start. It's the Emperor's inner guard, the members of which are privileged in being permitted to serve upon the Emperor, attending to his needs, receiving and recording his directions. These men never leave Earth, and only rarely leave the Imperial Palace. An endless black hive of forbidden technology and subterranean passages delving deep within the bowels of the planet. It's got the Admech here as well, also known as the Tech Priests. They are the guardians of all the ancient arcane technology, the last remnants of what, in a more primitive age, would have been called science. Chief amongst their task is the servicing and maintaining of the machinery that gives the Emperor life. They've got the Legion Astartes, also known as the Space Marines. Roughly 1,000 fighting troops. Got the Imperial Army. Adeptus Astra Telepathica. The Astronomica. There's the Inquisition. The Administratum. A lot of the stuff's here. Then goes on to talk about the Imperial Fleet. I'll read this bit here. Rogue traders fulfill a vital role within the Imperium as freelance explorers, conquistadors and merchants. A rogue trader is a trusted Imperial servant. He's given a ship, a crew, a contingent of Marines. Oh, I see, that's how it works. And a carte blanche, and carte blanche to roam the worlds beyond the Imperium. So it's a motley crew, and then like a small detachment of Marines to help them. I see, very good. You got other organisations here as well, such as assassins are in here. Okay. In the worlds of the Imperium, agricultural worlds, civilized worlds, death worlds, feral planets, hive worlds, industrial worlds, medieval worlds, paradise planets, research stations. There's background information on the Emperor of Mankind. That's not Custodes, could be. Just state of them. I think that's him. The Emperor of Mankind, I think that's him. The rotting corpse of the Emperor. Talking about humans. Spread around the galaxy in untold billions, upon 1,000,000 habitable worlds. Adeptus Terra, Adeptus Custodes, Mechanicus, so more background information on them. Adeptus Arbites. And it's the breakdown of the eagle. Each part is representative of something. Department. Adeptus Custodes is black, Adeptus Mechanicus is white, Adeptus Arbites is black, Adeptus Astronomica is blue, Adeptus Astra Telepathica is green, Administratum is black, grey and white, and then High Lords of Terror is red. There's some rules built in there as well, small rules here as well. Inquisition. Look at this. Inquisition is the symbol right there at the very start. Again, the rules aren't finished here. Look, there's stuff going on here. Equipment for these different types of units. You've got psychers. There's Marines. Some strange stuff going on. I'll zoom in so you can see. Look at this stuff. There's someone stuck inside that. There's someone driving inside this bubble. Looks like Adeptus Mechanicus. And there's the Marines. Resist psychic attacks. Got navigators. That's the characteristics for them. There's a Marine, not sure what chapter that is. Again, look, kill written on the side. Blasting straight through the skull of an Orc or a Gretchen here. Nation know no fear, famous slogan from the Space Marines. Space Marines say Legion Astartes is the official title of the warrior organisation, more commonly known as the Space Marines. There they are. There's a whole load of them being painted up. Chapter insignia and markings. So chapter badge, I think it's your Crimson Fists. Marks for Trooper Sergeant, Veteran Sergeant, Captain, Field Police and Veterans. Ah, it's not Orcs. I thought it was an Orc symbol. They're all symbols, they're all Space Marine symbols. Here, let's clarify them. I'll show you, I'll zoom in. So, I've got that one right, Blood Angels. So Blood Drinkers, yeah, so that's continued on, they're still around now. Crimson Fists, Dark Angels. It's Flesh Eaters. Here, Flesh Tearers. It is Flesh Tearers, that's not Orcs, so that's Flesh Eaters. There's your Iron Hands, it's not an Eldar symbol, it's actually Iron Hands. The Rainbow Warriors, I thought that was something that was a joke. It's the Rainbow Warriors. Silver Skulls, Space Wolves, Ultramarines, and the White Skulls, yes, that's in there. Some more detail, all of their equipment here. Additional equipment and the percentage chance of having it. A Fortress Monastery of the Space Wolves, giving you all the rooms and the layout of it. Crazy stuff. The Reclusium, the Refectory, the Oratorium, Librarium, Cells, Company Chapel, the Penatorium, Private Chambers, Dormitories. And it's giving you the details of all those rooms. Some artwork here, Trooper of Army Retribution 9. Hamburger World campaign. Interesting colour scheme. And that's them painted up, fighting against squats. Warriors of the Army. Ah, is this your Astra Militarum? There they are. That's how they look with their markings. Do look pretty good. Good concept of them. Yeah, humans. Another piece of artwork. Destroyer, I think, written on the side of his helmet. Sort of heavier armour here for these. Inquisitors. The actual rogue trader himself, so all your background information and rules. Aha, right, let's take a look at this. This is your colour schemes here. Fascinating. So, what do we got? There's your Dark Angels in black armour, red stripe down the middle. There's the medic, the banners that they carry. There's your Flesh Eaters. Pray for Death, it says on the side of his shoulder pad. There's Flesh Tearers, not in red but in black. And there's the symbol. White Scars, Ultramarines, and then Space Wolves with that grey blue colour for them is. And then look at this, Field Police, just here. I've just learnt something today. Just found this. So you know when you paint your Space Marines, you've got a little stud on the forehead. Sometimes you get a couple. Implanted studs indicated 10 years service per stud. So there you go. That's why they got those studs on their foreheads. It's a number of years that are served. I don't know whether they still stick to that explanation, but that's what that is. There's your markings: Trooper, Trooper Veteran, Sergeant, Sergeant Veteran, Captain, Captain Veteran, and then Field Police. And just down here. Then shifting across, Crimson Fists, Blood Drinkers. What does that say? Lust for Blood, written on his shoulder pad. Then you got your Blood Angels, Chaplain in black, so that continues on today. Look at that's the Rainbow Warriors, unbelievable. In blue, and then just the rainbow down the front of the face. Iron Hands. You can see the symbol more clearly now, yeah, so this continues on to today. And this one here, the Silver Skulls with the checkered pattern, that's pretty cool. And they look quite brutal, the Silver Skulls. There's a dead human head hanging off, and also an orc hanging off his shoulder pad as well. Different markings here. And markings for weapons being carried. Bolter, heavy bolter, flamer, beamer, graviton, all labelled across here. So there you go, plenty of detail, even at the very early stages. Here for the Space Marines. This is covering assassins. Some more artwork here, and then one of the early dioramas also. Well, zoom in. A Space Marine stalks his prey. He's burnt out some orcs here. Marines are humanity's toughest warriors. Just hunting down something. I do like the camo pattern on these. Then sitting in a restaurant or bar, human renegades. Right, it's not official Space Marines, I don't think, but those humans that have taken power armor. The one big one written on his shoulder pad. Here. That's, again, I think that's him, isn't it? The Emperor? Could be wrong. And then here's your early diorama. Orcs fighting against the Marines here. Looks pretty good. The detail of these Marines. And there's the from earlier on. That's a better view now. Smash the Empire written across the wall as Dreadnought bursting through. Here's one of the colour schemes I really like. Guardsmen painted up here with black boots, like a light grey off-white overalls, and then this strong emerald green helmets. Actually, I think it's a really good colour scheme for Astrum and the Tyrant. Liking the idea of that. So you've got beastmen, halflings. These are all come under the abhumans. Ogrins are in there. There they are. Rules for them. Toughness 5. Squats. Well, let's read about this. I think it's worth having a little look. Generations of life on high gravity worlds have caused changes in the physique of long established humanoid populations. Makes total sense. I mean, the concept of it is fine. I can't see why these can't make a comeback. They have a tendency to become short, averaging 1.4 meters, but also very squat, bull-necked and generally muscular. Humans of this appearance are known as squats, but also as dwarves, and by other often less than complementary names. Along with physical changes, squats have associated psychological adaptations which make them extremely practical and skillful with weapons and technical equipment. What's interesting right today is that, you know, you might think, well, political correctness, maybe we shouldn't do dwarves in 40k, but then again, maybe to be politically correct, they should do them to have them represented. You know, it sort of works both ways. They're in Warhammer, so there should be no obstacle to bring them back. And the concept, I think, is very strong. You've got high gravity worlds, humans on there, and then over time they become shorter. I can't see the problem with that whatsoever. And it brings dwarves into 40k. So along with physical changes, squats have associated psychological adaptations that make them extremely practical and skillful with weapons and technical equipment. They're also very abrupt, taciturn and difficult to befriend, preferring the company of other squats. They're sounding like dwarves here. They're especially intolerant of aliens, especially orcs, who they loathe and despise. And you got to admit, orcs versus squats, what a game of 40k that would be. In the Imperium, squats are the only abhuman type commonly seen occupying positions of authority, even entering the priesthood and ranks of the Inquisition. They're tough fighters and are regarded by many as the most reliable warriors in the army. This is the profile of an average squat. You may as well call this out. Movement 3, it's a very slow weapon skill of 4 though, which is very good. Same level as Marine. Ballistic skill 3, strength 3, toughness 4, so tougher than your average human. 1 wound, initiative 2, 1 attack, leadership 9, intelligence 7, coolness 9, so very cool under pressure, and then WP, which was willpower 9 as well. It's very highly rated. This is the profile of the average squat. Because squats are small but extremely tough and resilient, they're able to carry a considerable weight without affecting them. So a squat can carry up to 2-inch movement penalties worth of heavy equipment. Just giving the rules. Over the years, squats have developed a distinct racial dislike for orcs and Gretchens, feelings generated as a result of numberless wars and atrocities by the races concerned. Their natural aggression, it almost sounds like a little bit of Lord of the Rings going on here as well, the hatred for orcs. Their natural aggression and lack of patience has caused them to become involved in many long and arduous conflicts, especially against the orcs. Squats are subject to psychological hatred of orcs and Gretchens, Selected units can be subject to hatred against other alien types too. This is left for the Game Master to decide before the game, or can be regarded as a 10% chance of hating the enemy to be fought. Personalities can be generated, and so on and so on. It's talking about there for the squads. They're not a major part of Rogue Trader, but they're certainly there. And there's your artwork concept for them. There they are. I think they're a brilliant idea. And there's some more artwork for them there. And here. Oh, they're given a good spread. And here they are fighting against, let me guess. Yeah, can't tell. But it's probably against the Orcs. And then there's the squat models. Fighting away. There they are in a bit of a scenario. So the Eldar race, or maybe just read this out here. Of all the galaxy's ancient races, the Eldar most closely resemble mankind. Averaging just over 2 meters, they are a little taller than humans, more slightly built and more delicately featured. In human terms, most Eldar are radiantly beautiful. Skin colour is pale, in some cases almost white. Their ears are delicately pointed, but otherwise there is little physical difference between Eldar and humans. Indeed, the two races are genetically so close that it is even possible for them to interbreed. Viable offspring are rare, but not unheard of, combining the physical appearance and mental attributes of both races. Several theories have been advanced to explain the physical traits shared with humans, most commonly held of which is that the two share a common ancestor. The truth will, in all probability, never be known. I don't think that's the current fluff. I'm not sure on that one. The Eldar came from somewhere else, I think. But loads of information on the Eldar here, all the way through, so lots of detail on them. And artwork, I have to say, that is hideous, but this is the early days. Fighting against the squats, another good game. Now look at these colour schemes for inspiration for your own colour palettes here. Look at this one, really liking the colour scheme there. And this one. Like, it reminds me of like poisonous frogs that you see in the nature documentaries. And then here's models painted up. Again, like in the colour scheme here with these and the markings on the head. Very cool. Yeah, fighting against the squats across this rope bridge. Eldar Warriors, looking at their weapons and grenades. Orcs capturing this outpost, and it says Bad Moon's Rising. So this is one of the early Orc cultures talked about. We'll cover this. I find this fascinating here. The Orcoid space and the Orc Domains. The savage race known as Orcs and their underlying slave race of Gretchens were probably the first extraterrestrial civilization encountered by humanity. That was a long time ago. Quite when no one remembers. People say on their first meeting, man and Orc exchanged a long hard look, didn't much care for what they saw, and began the long interstellar conflict that has gone on ever since. Okay. Orcs and their servants are mankind's principal enemies. Orc spacecraft ravage and plunder the Imperium, and Orc armies bring death and destruction to human worlds. Similarly, humans crusade against Orcs on their own worlds in the depths of space, and continuous state of war exists between them and shows no sign of abatement. Orcs are large humanoids, averaging 2 meters tall, with long, powerful limbs. Their heads are bold and brutish, with strong, thrusting jaws and beetling brows. Their noses are puggish and flat, and their ears large and pointed, except where they've been bitten off during some brawl or other. Orcs are basically carnivorous, with huge, pointed teeth, often forming vicious tusks of considerable size and ferocious appearance. Their skin is greenish, ranging from a sickeningly livid green to a drab olive colour. Orcs are an extremely violent race. They have a deep, irrational dislike of all other life forms. They despise weaklings, respecting only power and insane courage. No Orc ever learnt to be patient. They speak in short bursts, swear continuously. This is one of the early features amongst the Orcs in some of the artwork. That's been tidied up since, and laugh hysterically whenever something strikes them as funny, like sudden accidents, news of terminal illness, struggles of a doomed victim, and so on. Orcs always appear angry, their faces twisted into a permanent snarl, their eyes stabbing resentment and loathing, their teeth continually chomping and grinding. Orcs are difficult to befriend. They even fight amongst themselves. Would you believe it? When an orc kills another in a brawl, it's not regarded as a crime. Rather, the victim is blamed for being careless, stupid, or just weak. Orc's space comprises a large, compact area to the west of the galactic pole. In all, it probably numbers as many as 10,000 habitable solar systems. Humans and orcs share a similar physiology and require the same sort of worlds to live in. All KOYO technology is not particularly sophisticated or reliable, but they have warp drives as a standard alien type. They have no central governing body. I'll read on a little bit here, just a bit more. I won't read all of this, but they shouldn't be considered as respecting a single nation in any sense. Instead, their worlds are divided into rival interwarring empires, or cultures that continue, like Goths and baboons and so on, most comprising of only 1 or 2 planets, the largest about 20 worlds. There are thousands of small empires, each ruled over by a strong warlord. Territories change hands continuously, alliances are made, pacts signed and broken, often on the same day, and old rulers displaced by young, ambitious warriors, such as Gutripper. The power of a warlord is represented by the size of its fleets, or his fleets, and by the strength of his armies. The sole purpose of every self-respecting warlord is to fight, especially when the battle is against the despised humans. So there you go. And then lots of artwork for the orcs. I guess there's one thing to say, right? There's no codexes going on here. For what I was reading, as rules came out, and it's a habit that's continued on with Games Workshop, they released updates through the White Dwarf magazines, extra characters and rules and so on. And that's a habit that Games Workshop have continued on down through the years, just updates being released and updated in different forms through White Dwarf or through supplementary books and so on. But there's the orcs, plenty of artwork for them. Each artist giving his own spin on what they look like. There's like a lack of harmony here. There's plenty of variety going on with the orcs. That's the rogue group of rogue traders, or rogue trader and his crew. It's labelled for us here. This one's an Eldar adventurer. Number 2. This one is an Adeptus Mechanicus Technomat. Adeptus Mechanicus Testbed Slave. That's number 3. A Navigator Patriarch is number 4, which is this one. An Army Trooper of Gaian's Legion, number 5. A Guardsman almost, and then an Army Squat Trooper. So you can assemble a motley crew. Fight together. There's the Land Raider again. Give the idea of a scale of the game. There's your Gretchens covered there. Yeah, this is a piece of artwork that continued on down through the different editions. Recognise that from a variety of editions of 40k. Now, background information on the Slann. I'll not read it all, but I can read you a bit, just to give you an idea. Of all the races in the galaxy, the Slann claim to be and may actually be the oldest. The days of their bright empire are waning, but still they remain among the most enigmatic creatures of known space. The Slann evolved, matured and spread throughout the galaxy many hundreds of thousands of years ago. During the heyday of their empire, they discovered and nurtured many primitive creatures, encouraging the evolutionary process in countless worlds, eradicating or moving dangerous species and seeding many planets with promising stock. For millennia they experimented and played with the galaxy, possibly creating many of the races of modern times in the process. But their empire dwindled and the pace of their civilization slowed, and their genetic experiments were largely abandoned. The Slann retired from an active role in galactic affairs, falling into a long dream of indolence and introspection. They do not seem to have suffered from any physical conflict. There are no records of destructive wars or disasters. Instead, their racial motivations appear to have undergone a sudden drastic change, so they've lost interest in material conquest and power. Perhaps the Slan discovered something yet unknown to other races, some secret of the universe, a spiritual truth or supreme mystical insight. In the realms of psychic philosophy and mystic technology, the Slan certainly have no equals, fulfilling themselves by the study of spiritual life forces and the secret powers of other realities. So their amphibian stock it's talking about here. Maybe in a way their explanation at the beginning of the 40k realm, they've been pushed to the side by the Necrons, maybe. But that's giving you a bit of information on them. They're comprised of warbands. Yeah, look at this. It's all very Aztec here, so maybe they are it's very, very Aztec. Here, look at this. See, very Aztec style designs going on with these. So maybe these are the lizard men of 40k to a degree. Information on Jaqueros. Raising the banner, inspired by a World War II photograph. Tyranids, there they are. It is Tyranids, yeah. Very early concept Tyranids. Fascinating. Zotes. I'll read out a little bit of this one. Right, so Zotes. They're the most common of all the Tyranids, many specially engineered slave races, right? So they're engineered by the Tyranids. Other slave races are little more than animals, mere blobs of protoplasm, dedicated to cleaning and maintaining the hive fleets of which they're a part. Even the hulking spacecraft that compose hive fleets are in a sense races as they are grown and matured or nurtured from a common, albeit much modified, biological stock. So I think they made the Tyranids a bit more intolerant of any other life forms other than their own, so this got rid of the Zotes then. Spacecraft are mindless monstrosities, and the vast majority of other slave races are so dedicated to a single purpose it would be inappropriate to think of them as creatures. Zotes, on the other hand, are completely independent living creatures, much like their masters. So there they are, that's a slave race there. This is quite interesting, I'll keep reading here, because this is a one-off chance to read about them. The xenobiologists of the Administratum believe that Zotes were created purely for combat. Tyranids, being creatures of space, suffer discomfort if they spend too long on a planet. Zotes, however, are stocky animals that feel quite at home on a wide variety of atmospheric and gravitational conditions. Yes, they're sort of using the Zotes as to help out the weakness of the Tyranids. I think Games Workshop wanted to create the Tyranids as a lot more self-sufficient and powerful, so the Zotes had to go. I'm not sure how long Zotes continued on to the different editions, but we'll maybe see that when we come to second edition of 40k. Like Tyranid, Zotes are centauroid. Their two rear sets of limbs are heavily built and muscular, providing the creature with its means of locomotion. The front limbs are manipulative organs of great strength and used in a wide to wield a variety of weapons. Unlike Tyranid, Zotes will eat anything, although they largely subsist on a daily diet of 3 reconstituted protein-based woven biscuits called Zotabix. Zotes are common hive fleet inhabitants, often equaling the number of Tyranids themselves. God. Although they're a slave race, just this last bit, Zotes occupy important positions throughout the hive fleets. Individual Zotes can gain great powers. I doubt you're going to see these come back in 40k, not with the way they're woven into the storyline here. Rebellion from Tyranid control is not unknown, but is extremely rare. So yeah, there's an opportunity you could rediscover them where they've broken away, but then if you admit their existence, then you've got problems where originally they're in with the Tyranids, so I'm not sure how that will work. This is because Tyranids secrete a special slave hormone which suppresses the Zotes' natural sense of independence. However, renegade Zotes do exist throughout the universe, where they've broken away from the Hive fleets or have become lost during scouting and exploration missions. Without the inhibiting influence of the Tyranid slave hormone, Zotes are able to develop strong psychic powers. The path of independent Zote civilization is incredibly diverse, with small groups isolated from each other on widely scattered planets. There you go. And there's other, there's the Zotes fighting away. You've got warp creatures, astral hounds, there's a picture of one there. Astral spectre. Enslavers. Psychenuin, not sure what that is. Vampires. The ancient legends of old Earth were for long ages discredited as invention, folklore and myth. Reality, however, was to prove far more disturbing. So vampires exist. Warp entities, there it is. Zombies, alien creatures, an Ambor. There's an Ambor there. Bouncers. Carnivorous sand clowns. There's a Katachan Devil, the Face Eater, Crawlers, a Crotolid, a dragon type thing. There's your Gene Stealer's early concept. A Pharaoh Beast, dinosaurs, a Cathelian Cudbear. There you go. Giant insectoids, giant spiders. There's the Grox. Brilliant, they've given you a picture for all of them so that you're not left guessing what they are. A Grinx, I think that's that one there. Horses. Lashworms. Mimics. There's the Patera squirrel. Wouldn't like to meet one of those in the park. Razor wings. Rippy fish. Well, razor wings are still in 40k, aren't they? I think for Drukhari. Swarms. Sunworms. Alien plants. Brainleaf plant, gas fungus, just even all the plant life's discussed here. Look at this, spongeweed, spine fawn, the Venus mantrap. Loads of stuff, environmental changes. The possibilities are endless with this game. Plant charts. Moving on through some of the artwork. Just giving you a good idea of the contents here. Loads of artwork. Fascinating. Just a rogue trader turning up on some town. It's very Star Wars type stuff going on here. I'm thinking of Han Solo and his crew, and they're going from one world to the next. There's that kind of adventure going on. So you can see how people just got stuck, how it got built maybe a small cult type following that really immersed themselves in the game. That started, that was the beginning of the hardcore followers of 40k. This could be an example of different rogue trader groups here. Then it's a little bit, this is a smaller section on the advanced gamer. Hidden movement, duck back and shock. Scenic insanity, indirect firepower, so there's even more information here. Multi-sided games, compulsory movement, planetary landings. It's all about campaigns in here. Keeping the narrative going. Casualties in the campaign. What type of organ's been affected? Eyes, ears, nose, mouth, face. Injury charts. More, it's plot generator. Look at this, pages of... So you roll a 61 to 70. An alien world is preparing for war against the Imperium. Troops and resources are being assembled at a huge launching site via the planet's overland travel tube system and enclosed motorways. The terrain is dangerous, jungle and desert, so the enclosed travel tubes are vital in connecting the scattered areas of settlement. The main site is too well protected for assault, but the travel tubes are vulnerable, and a force has been dispatched to cause as much damage as possible, hopefully disrupting the aliens' plans. There's that piece of artwork again. And there's more. Then there's subplots as well. And there it is, a picture of people playing the game. and the scale looks like a vehicle or two on each side. And I'll zoom in so you can see. Now, I'm going to take a guess. I could be really wrong on this one. I think that's Rick Priestley. I could be totally wrong on that one, but correct me if I'm wrong on that. There they are playing away. In someone's house. There's the back garden. You can see inside. There it is. Oh yeah, I could see like a vehicle, about 4 squads of Space Marines. I think they're playing against Orcs, and there's Orcs scattered around the board. They're playing on a table that looks like a roughly 6x4ish, roughly in size, a bit smaller perhaps. There's tips about painting your models, buying models. It says, although it's very easy to buy a new model on impulse, and I know of no one who doesn't, it's more efficient to think about your forces and plan your purchases carefully. Yeah, some good advice from Games Workshop right at the very start. And they continue that advice right up to today. They'll do it. Preparation of metal models, plastics. The plastics were there from the start. If you go to Warhammer World, I think you can see some of the early kits. It's undercoating, painting. There's the Citadel colour range as it began. Brushes, basic techniques, it's all covered here. Your stages of painting up your models. Your shading chart, just a written description. The hoarding impulse. So right from the start, there was a problem with people hoarding too much stuff here. The author tries not to just store any and every interesting looking box and pack it right. It's just hoarding stuff for making terrain. So he's saying just try to resist doing it, but it is very difficult. But he's talking about things he's found and collected. Raw materials. That's what it was in the early days. It wasn't just buying a building off the shelf. You had to use your imagination and create stuff. Now, obviously it was inferior to the professionally made plastic kits, but there was an element of enjoyment creating your own terrain. I used to enjoy making my own terrain, very much so. Finish, detail, paper mache, kitchen items, it's all in here. Painting, and there's your piece of artwork with all the crew. I'll zoom in so you can see the staff members here. Now, they're not labelled, so I don't know who's who, but there they are. I think that's him. I think that's Rick Priestley just there. Again, I could be wrong. I think that's the chap we saw in the picture. Yeah, that's Alan and Michael Perry, the two twins. I am, so am I. That's them. Depicted just there. I don't think I'll recognise anybody else. No. There you go. That's them. I'll show you the ones at the top. There they are. So if that is all staff members, then there was a good number of them at the beginning. So we're almost through the book here. The journey's coming to an end, but what a blast from the past here. So your summary now at the back. So much detail. Fresh artwork as well. There's half marine on top of a tracked tank type thing. Author's note on language. Miscellaneous. Some more background fluff. Like a hive city almost going on here. Now what's this? This is perforated, and these haven't been removed. James has got himself a good copy here that's not been, it's in brilliant condition for its age, 1987. But these have not been removed. They're perforated edges, and you can pull these out and use them in games. There's your blast markers. Details on your Space Marines. Orcs. Orc player's brief. Counters. unit record sheet or your roster type thing. Miniatures. Well. Right, so Imperial Space Marines. Oh, here we go. So to launch the Warhammer 40,000 range of miniatures and tabletop accessories, Citadel Miniatures has produced 2 exciting box sets. The first models, I think these are the ones I saw at Warhammer World, in a comprehensive blister-packed range that will ultimately cover all the major military and racial warriors of the far future. Yeah, so 2 main sets, Orcs and Space Marines, and then blister packs for the rest. Imperial Space Marines box set is the ultimate in miniatures kits. Each box contains 17 sprues of incredibly detailed hard styrene plastic components. There are enough pieces to construct a veritable army of the Emperor's major troopers, 30 complete models in fact. They are suitable components for building special weapons, personality models, and so on and so on. The Space Orc Raiders is enough to construct, doesn't say, it's 17. Oh no. Okay, well this is interesting, this is different. Space Marine Orc Raiders, the box set provides a selection of models of the most popular alien race, the Orcs. Perfect antagonists for the Space Marine set. The box set contains 17 expertly crafted metal models, including 4 personality models and 13 Orc troopers armed with bolters. Now you see that crossover with the weapon type, it kept the name whatever the faction was using it. Troopers are supplied with randomly assorted head variations, and again the complete set has been featured in the various battle photographs throughout this book. So that's just your advertising as they're getting going. Citadel's Warhammer 40,000 range of models is available from all good games stores and hobby stockists worldwide. In case of difficulty, please contact Games Workshop in Nottingham, Chewton Street. If you live in the USA or Canada, please contact Games Workshop in Columbia, 8920 Route 108, Columbia, MD. And then your prices. The Space Marine set was £9.95, which I'm sure back in those days was expensive, and then the Orc Raiders £9.95. So plastics, just showing a difference. 30 plastic Space Marines for £9.95, or 17 Orcs in metal for the same price. Interesting. And then if we're finished now, it's talking about, I'm not sure why this is a pull-out. I'll finish off with this. Warhammer 40,000 is the 3rd member of the Warhammer family, joining the best-selling Warhammer Fantasy Battle and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay games, or roleplay rules. Both games are a highly detailed fantasy world. Warhammer Fantasy range is constantly being updated. Watch the news page of White Dwarf magazine for the latest news. So you've got Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Established itself as Britain's best-selling fantasy role-playing game within a year of its release. 368-page hardback, contains complete rules for role-playing in the world of Warhammer Fantasy, and it's supported by the highly acclaimed Enemy Within campaign and by frequent articles and adventures in White Dwarf magazine. And then you've got Warhammer Fantasy Battle Rules. Has been the world's most popular fantasy wargame for almost 5 years, and the hardback 3rd edition rulebook is up to 3rd by the time Rogue Edition came out, or Rogue Trader came out. And the hardback 3rd edition rulebook includes information on new races, weapons and troop types gathered together for the first time. Warhammer Fantasy Battle is supported by a number of boxed scenario packs, as well as by the extensive ranges of Citadel miniatures, the Citadel Journal and White Dwarf magazine, and is without rival in the fantasy battle games market. There you go. It finishes with the artwork that we started with at the start of the video. So, as you can tell, this video is long and we've barely skimmed the surface here. But I hope that's been a fascinating journey here. I've enjoyed running through this book, and it's been fascinating to see these early concepts and how so much of it is now with us, even up to 9th edition. If you've enjoyed the review, then please hit the thumbs up and leave a comment. It really helps the video, and it will spur me on to maybe review Warhammer 40,000 2nd edition, just to see how 40k has progressed over the years and to see the changes that went from this as Games Workshop moved into 40k 2nd edition. That's where I began my journey into Warhammer 40,000. It's the edition that came after this one. And again, as the question I asked at the start, is anyone still playing this? If you are, then I'd love to hear that in the comment section, and what you think of the game, and how long you've been playing it for, and so on. Any details, leave that in the comments section below. But that's the review here, the retro review for Warhammer 40,000 First Edition, Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. Keep a lookout for more reviews on the channel. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.